Great. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, this morning, our webinar session on climate change and food security in Penang. This is the second of our 5 webinar series called Climate Change in Penang, where we look into issues relating to how Penang is going to impact it by climate change. And in our first webinar, which took place 2 weeks ago, we sort of list out a range of threats that Penang faces when climate change impact gets worse and worse. And we touched upon the issue of food security quite a lot. Our panelists touched upon that issue quite a lot. So this webinar, we have invited 4 distinguished guests to speak to us a bit more about food security issue in Penang. And we will hear a lot from them regarding what are the threats and also what are the solutions. So hopefully they will give us hope of how Penang can adapt ourselves to climate change threats. So just to recap, this series is part of Penang Green Agenda 2030 initiative, which is also part of the wider Penang 2030 vision that is being pushed by the state government. So in our previous, as I said, in our previous discussion, we have learned about the challenges that are facing Penang's agriculture, Penang's food production, including not just climate change impact like drought, like sea level rise, loss of land due to this, and emergence of pests. We also have other factors that negatively affect our food production, including the fact that agriculture actually is a low-income vocation and it fails to attract young people, which will be touched upon hopefully by one of our panelists later. And it also faces water security because especially in Seberang, where we get most of our food production, water is very much relying on Sungai Muda, where the upstream it originates in Kedah. So we don't really have a lot of control over water flow and the level of water that we will be getting. And also agriculture also causes pollution, in the soil and also water. And we also face in Penang the loss of agricultural land every year. In terms of the overall food security level that we have in Penang, I'll just give very brief a few statistics to show where we are at. In terms of rice cultivation, I think in terms of self-sufficiency level, we have around 60%. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and Tom Pengara later. And in terms of pork and chicken, we have enough. So our self-sufficiency level is more than 100%. But for other meats like beef and goats, its self-sufficiency level is pretty low. That also applies to vegetables and fruit. We all know that we import a lot from overseas and also from Cameron Highlands, for example. And lastly, just one last point on food security. I think we all agree that food security is more than just producing enough food. It is also about access to food. It is about food safety. It is also about consumption of nutritious food. So we are saying that we're by no means covering all aspects of food security in this session because of time limitation, but we do strive to sort of talk about the main or the important critical issues that are facing our food production in Penang at the moment. So this morning we are very happy to have 4 distinguished guest panelists with us. So we have the Pengara, the Director of the Department of Agriculture in Penang, Mr. Muhaimin, welcome. Mr. Muhaimin will start his presentation first. He will be then followed by the Senior Research Fellow, Mr. Kassim from Fisheries Research Institute of Malaysia. Mr. Kassim will give us an overview of what's the situation with our fishery, our fish as a food resource in Penang. That will then be followed by Professor Syed, and he will be talking about alternative crops and alternative agriculture practices. So how do we make agriculture more resilient especially towards the threat of climate change? And last but not least, we'll have Mr. Izhan, from Pelapis. He will be talking to us from a different perspective. So how do we increase the welfare of farmers by perhaps increasing the adoption of technologies, and importantly, how do we make it sexy? How do we make it a sexy sector so that we can attract young generation to participate in this sector? So without taking too much time, I will then pass the baton to Mr. Muhaimin. Welcome, Tuan Pengarah. Mr. Muhaimin has had a long experience in this area. He started in the private sector and then joined, I believe, the agriculture department, not in Penang, in other areas, about 15 years ago, and he has just taken over the role of director of Penang's Department of Agriculture recently. Welcome, Tuan. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shin Wei, and pada semua, Profesor Syed Azam-Ali, Encik Kassim bin Ku Yaacob, dan yang kita raikan kepada semua penonton ataupun yang menyertai webinar Climate Change in Penang, especially dalam tajuk Climate Change and Food Security in Penang. Okay, pertama sekali saya ingin mengucapkan selamat pagi, salam sejahtera. Terima kasih di atas undangan pada kali ini. Sedikit yang saya akan kita berkongsi pada hari ini mengenai food security dan juga climate change. Berdasarkan kajian indeks bekalan makanan global pada tahun 2017 yang dijalankan oleh The Economist Intelligence Unit yang telah meletakkan Malaysia di tangga 41 daripada 113 negara. Kedudukan ini menurun dari kedudukan 35 pada tahun 2016. Salah satu komponen yang penting adalah keselamatan dan juga khasiat perlu dipenuhi, safety and nutrition. Bagi jabatan bekalan makanan, di samping ketersediaan, availability bekalan makanan, access bekalan makanan itu, accessibility dan juga kestabilan bekalan makanan. Walau bagaimanapun, berdasarkan laporan daya saing global, Global Competitiveness Index 2017-18, Malaysia telah naik ke 2 anak tangga pada kedudukan ke-23 daripada 137 negara berbanding kedudukan yang sebelumnya pada kedudukan ke-25. Okey, itu sedikit overview mengenai kajian indeks jaminan bekalan makanan global. So, apa yang kita perlu tengok di sini adalah apa itu sektor pertanian. Sektor pertanian merupakan satu sektor yang sangat penting dalam pengeluaran bahan makanan. Oleh itu, sektor pertanian masih kekal relevan sebagai salah satu faktor dan juga satu sektor yang menyumbang kepada keluaran dalam negeri kasar negara dan juga negeri, especially Pulau Pinang lah. Sektor pertanian juga perlu diberi penumpuan yang sewajarnya oleh pihak kerajaan negeri dan juga pihak kerajaan Malaysia agar penduduk di negeri dan juga di Malaysia mempunyai dan mendapat bekalan makanan yang selamat dimakan, sure, dan harga yang berpatutan lah. Okey. Bagi tahun 2019 dan 2020, terdapat 4 cabaran utama yang telah dikenal pasti bagi sektor pertanian dalam usaha pelaksanaan projek dan juga program pertanian. Antara cabaran tersebut adalah seperti isu taraf hidup petani yang masih sama, walaupun subsidi dan pelbagai insentif yang telah diberikan oleh kerajaan kepada kumpulan ini. Seterusnya, penurunan hasil pengeluaran tanaman makanan itu sendiri, serta kurangnya penglibatan sektor swasta dan golongan muda. Yang ini yang kita mungkin insyaAllah pada hujung ini kita akan dapat daripada Encik Izhan. Dan juga pelaksanaan projek yang terlalu memberi tumpuan kepada sufficient level SSL tanaman makanan. So keempat cabaran ini menjadi perkara asas kepada Jabatan Pertanian untuk menyusun semula semua fokus utama pelaksanaan projek di bawah RMK ke-11. So dalam RMK 12 akan ada penyusunan semula agar dapat mencapai sasaran yang telah ditetapkan. Okey, berbanding sektor lain, bila kita sebut sektor pertanian ni seringkali kita menghadapi orang kata orang akan sedikit memandang rendah dalam sektor pertanian, tetapi sedar tak sedar keperluan makanan bagi masyarakat dunia bermulanya sejak saya rasa beribu tahun dulu. Makanan tidak boleh terputus. Jika terputus makanan, so manusia tak dapat makan dan akan jadi isu yang lebih besar. Keadaan ini juga menyumbang kepada pengurangan hasil pengeluaran tanaman makanan. Selain faktor tenaga buruh dan juga masalah tanah pertanian yang terhad. Yang ini berlaku di Penang, isu di Penang. Sehubungan dengan itu, Jabatan Pertanian Negeri bagi menghadapi cabaran dan isu, kita telah merangka beberapa strategi pelaksanaan pembangunan, projek pembangunan agar seimbang dan lebih fokus kepada kumpulan sasaran. Antaranya adalah inisiatif bagi meningkatkan pendapatan isi rumah petani melalui berbagai projek-projek pertanian, meningkatkan produktiviti dengan menaik taraf infrastruktur ladang dan menyediakan bantuan dalam bentuk mekanisasi dan juga in-kind input pertanian, serta mewujudkan rakan strategi partner dengan sektor swasta dan menggalakkan projek pertanian integrasi dan lestari. Untuk makluman juga, pada tahun ini kita dapat peruntukan, kerajaan telah memperuntukkan di bawah peruntukan penjana, yang mana Jabatan Pertanian Malaysia telah mendapat peruntukan sebanyak 10 juta bagi projek pertanian bandar, dan negeri Pulau Pinang telah diperuntukkan sebanyak 600,000 bagi tahun 2020 dan juga 2021. Ini adalah salah satu langkah kerajaan bagi especially bagi projek-projek pertanian bandar. Okey, sedikit saya nak sentuh juga mengenai a family focused green and smart state that inspire the nation, yang mana Penang 2030. Kalau ikut dalam Penang 2030 itu, kita ada modernize and diversity dalam sustainable in agriculture. So secara umumnya, antara cabaran yang dihadapi dalam sektor pertanian ni lah seperti yang saya maklum tadi, food security. Sebelum saya kita bincang sedikit mengenai climate change, yang mana food security dan food sustainability can be improved through yield agriculture practices and through fostering urban farming dan hasil teknologi. So kalau kita tengok dari Penang 2030 ini, key inisiatif dia, di antara key inisiatif yang diletakkan dalam Penang 2030 merupakan positioning Penang as a high-tech green valley, aquaculture industrial zone and halal hub, introducing Feeding Penang initiative to create more localized and urbanized farming and to ensure food security, enabling investment for R&D, driving agriculture 4.0. So yang ini yang telah ditetapkan oleh kerajaan negeri, di mana target dia meningkatkan sebanyak 20% produktiviti dalam pertanian, urban farming, 100 urban farming sehingga 2030, dan juga 20% drop in average food miles. So boleh capaian sumber makanan. Untuk urban farming, kita tengah buat di Penang dan juga seluruh Malaysia. InsyaAllah pada tahun ini kita diperuntukkan 200,000 tambahan, daripada 300 ke 500,000. InsyaAllah akan ada banyak projek-projek urban farming di Penang. Yang tu sedikit sebanyak mengenai urban farming dan juga Penang 2030. Okey, saya nak ke perubahan iklim Climate change antara isu utama yang berlaku di Pulau Pinang, isu perubahan cuaca, di mana kita dalam beberapa tahun kebelakangan ini kita banyak terkesan projek-projek pertanian banyak terkesan dari segi perubahan iklim itu sendiri, cabaran dari segi kemarau, banjir, hujan, ribut yang berlaku di mana Kerajaan Persekutuan telah memperuntukkan bantuan kepada petani-petani yang menghadapi masalah-masalah dari segi bencana-bencana ini. So sebenarnya kalau kita tengok dari segi perubahan monsun itu sendiri dan juga perubahan iklim musim hujan pun berubah sedikit sebanyak mempengaruhi pengeluaran produk pertanian, hasil pertanian di negeri Pulau Pinang. So Kerajaan Negeri Pulau Pinang dan melalui Jabatan Pertanian Negeri sememangnya sangat dan prihatin mengenai isu ini, dan kita telah berbincang dan masih dalam proses untuk membantu petani-petani di negeri Pulau Pinang. Yang ini adalah satu langkah jangka masa panjang lah. Sebab kalau dibincangkan isu climate change, saya rasa sekejap lagi Profesor akan elaborate dengan lebih lanjut dari segi saintifiknya. Cuma di lapangan, on the field, kami di Jabatan Pertanian dan juga petani sememangnya menghadapi isu perubahan iklim ini. Perubahan iklim ni pun dia berlaku sejajar dengan perkara-perkara tadilah, kemarau, banjir yang disebabkan oleh El Nino dan juga La Nina. So bukan di negeri Pulau Pinang saja, kalau kata kita tengok pada awal tahun ini kita mempunyai kemarau yang panjang selama 4 bulan, yang mana petani-petani terutamanya sektor padi menghadapi masalah air, bekalan air, sebab di utara Penang, di daerah SPU kita menggunakan air daripada Sungai Muda, yang mana Sungai Muda level air di Sungai Muda drop ke paras yang kita tidak boleh nak pam air untuk kegunaan tanaman padi. So Kerajaan Negeri, inisiatif Kerajaan Negeri, kita telah turun untuk kita buat deep tube well di beberapa lokasi strategik lah. So petani dari segi petani sayur juga pun menghadapi masalah yang sama, isu air pada awal tahun ini. Buah-buahan, especially durian, Penang sangat famous dengan durian. Juga saya mendapat keluhan daripada petani yang mana kualiti dan kuantiti buah musim agak menurun sedikit, pada yang mana ia disebabkan oleh faktor cuaca, kemarau yang panjang dan juga kekurangan bekalan air lah. So yang tu yang kita hadapi sekarang. Saya juga sentuh sedikit mengenai dasar jaminan bekalan makanan di JBM, iaitu bagi meningkatkan pengeluaran dan produktiviti agro makanan bagi memenuhi tahap sara diri. SSL memastikan bekalan makanan mencukupi, berkualiti dan selamat dimakan, memastikan pengusaha pertanian dapat pendapatan yang setimpal bagi menjamin pengeluaran bahan makanan agar tidak merosot. Okey, untuk SSL di negeri Pulau Pinang, bagi padi, untuk padi, sektor padi bagi tahun 2018, hujung 2018 62.45 pada 2019 dalam agak meningkat sedikit dalam 65-66%, tapi kita belum dapat angka rasmi. Bagi SSL buah pula kita ada 46.43%. Dan untuk SSL sayur ini agak tinggi pengeluaran dan juga penggunaan oleh masyarakat sayur. SSL pada tahun 2018 adalah sebanyak 91.8 23%. Okey, seterusnya keselamatan makanan merujuk kepada sumber makanan sebagai komoditi pertanian dan perdagangan yang boleh menyumbang kepada risiko kesihatan awam. Tujuan dasar makanan, dasar keselamatan makanan disediakan ialah melindungi pengguna daripada ancaman kesihatan, penipuan di samping mengelakkan perdagangan makanan. Yang ini yang isu, antara isu yang kita hadapi pada akhir-akhir ini, terutamanya kalau kata macam di Penang, kita satu negeri yang kecil dan kompetitif di antara sektor pertanian dan juga sektor development. Untuk makluman, di Penang kita ada 12,105 hektar tanaman padi, yang mana semakin berkurang setiap tahun, dan saya jangka dalam masa setahun dua lagi dia akan turun secara drastik lagi sebab banyak pembangunan yang telah dijalankan. Namun begitu, Kerajaan Negeri Pulau Pinang melalui Jabatan Pertanian Negeri, kita sedaya upaya, we have to do something untuk meningkatkan pengeluaran makanan, terutamanya dalam sektor padi. Untuk makluman juga, Penang pada tahun 2018, bawah musim, kita telah menduduki tempat yang pertama dalam pengeluaran purata padi kebangsaan, yang mana Penang average untuk Penang 5.4 tan per hektar di tangga yang pertama tertinggi, yang mengatasi average kebangsaan dalam 4.3, 4.4 tan. So itu antara cabaran yang diberikan oleh pihak kerajaan negeri agar kami, pihak Jabatan Pertanian, membantu petani meningkatkan lagi dari segi hasil. Walaupun kawasan kawasan pertanian tidak besar, tapi kita kena bekerja keras untuk meningkatkan lagi pengeluaran hasil tanaman di negeri Pulau Pinang. Untuk jumlah keseluruhan, saya berkongsi di sini jumlah keseluruhan tanaman di Pulau Pinang adalah seluas 17,946 hektar, termasuk padi, buah-buahan, sayur-sayuran, herba, tanaman ladang, tanaman industri. So keseluruhannya ada 17,000 sahaja hektar. Dan setiap tahun pengeluaran makanan ini, kawasan makanan itu kawasan semakin berkurang disebabkan oleh faktor tadi, cabaran dari segi kompetitif kita di antara agriculture dan juga pembangunan. So apa yang kita boleh buat di peringkat jabatan dan juga kerajaan, kita perlu meningkatkan pengeluaran hasil pertanian itu sendiri. Untuk makluman, bagi tanaman padi tahun 2019 kita mengeluarkan untuk musim pertama 67,483 tan padi, dan padi buah-buahan 22,468 tan. Dia ada berlaku pengurangan setiap tahun, dan juga ada sektor yang meningkat pengeluaran hasil tanaman ini. Isunya pelbagai, isu faktor cuaca yang menjadi salah satu faktor utama juga. Cuaca dari segi hasil berkurang disebabkan oleh cuaca yang tak menentu, dan juga pada tahun ini kita menghadapi satu ujian, satu musibah kita, COVID-19 selama 3 bulan. Dan COVID-19 ini pun menjejaskan pengeluaran pertanian kita di negeri Pulau Pinang, yang mana pengeluaran agak berkurang disebabkan oleh kekurangan permintaan di pasaran. Namun begitu, pihak kami Jabatan Pertanian tetap terus untuk minta petani-petani meneruskan pengeluaran hasil pertanian, tidak berhenti walaupun peningkatan yang agak perlahan. Namun di hujung pada April dan juga Mei, pengeluaran dan juga permintaan hasil pertanian ini kembali pulih seperti biasa. Alhamdulillah. Untuk seterusnya, antara isu saya nak bincang, sebenarnya saya lebih banyak kita nak kongsi isu. Saya nak juga nak minta pandangan daripada profesor dan juga ahli panel yang lain mengenai isu pertanian kita di Penang, sebab ada beberapa isu yang dimaklumkan oleh pihak Malaysia dari segi current production, dari segi food security-nya sendiri di Penang, insyaAllah, dan Alhamdulillah dari segi food security itu sekarang kita pengeluaran hasil kita mengikut rancangan yang kita telah laksanakan, dan pihak jabatan juga kita setiap tahun kita menambah dari segi peruntukan infra, input dan bantuan kepada petani bagi meneruskan aktiviti pertanian dan juga bagi meningkatkan pengeluaran hasil. Saya rasa itu dulu sedikit sebanyak daripada saya, Jabatan Pertanian. I think 15 minit.
Terima kasih banyak Tuan Pengarah. Thank you so much for your briefing. It's very informative. I, for one, was surprised that we have quite high SSL for vegetables. I always thought that we rely a lot on vegetable imports. Thank you so much for a very good overview of our footprint or our food production in Penang and how much we rely on outside food import. And I forgot to mention just now that we will have Q&A session after all the 4 presentations. So if you have any questions, you can put them on the chat box and we will pick them and ask the panelists after all the presentations. So our next presenter is from FRI, so Fisheries Research Institute. It's Mr. Kassim. He is a senior research officer and he has been with FRI since 1996. He is the director of impact assessment. So he will be he told me yesterday that one of his main projects now is looking at the impact of various things on fisheries, including the algae bloom and among other things. So perhaps if you have questions about that, you can put in the chat box and we can ask him later. So Mr. Kassim's interests cover a range of issues, including impact of development, coastal oceanography, and remote sensing. So Mr. Kassim, the floor is yours. Thank you again for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ng. Hi everybody, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Kassim bin Ku Yaacob from Fisheries Research Institute in Batu Maung, Penang. If you come here in what we call Batu Maung, there's a aquarium, Tunku Abdul Rahman, Aquata. So my office is located there. So today, I would like to also thank the organizers for inviting me as well as FRI to join in this webinar on climate change and food security in Penang. So this morning, I will present on the issues of climate change in fisheries. Okay. Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, my talk today will be on Malaysian fisheries status, some issues and challenges, and what are our actions. So the status of Malaysian fisheries for today. Actually, I take, okay, this is the what we call the Punca Kuasa Fisheries Department, Fisheries Act 1985. Okay, which what we call on the fisheries, we conserve, manage, and develop fisheries in Malaysian marine and estuarine waters. Turtles and inland fisheries are state matters. Okay. While for Sabah, fisheries are under state matters. While for Sarawak, marine fisheries under federal, UIF. While for inland and estuarine fisheries under state. So that is the difference between Semenanjung, Sabah, and Sarawak. Okay, for our current status, actually this is from statistics in 2018. Our production of fish is about 1.85 million tons, equals to 14.5 billion ringgit. From 1.85 million tons, 78% come from capture fisheries. Okay. And then 21.2% comes from aquaculture. And we have a small portion of inland fisheries, just about 6,000 tons or 0.3% of the total production. So our KDNK or GDP for agriculture, GDP for agriculture is 12.5%. Our SSL 92.1%. Our per capita consumption about 47 kilo per year. And our trade is about 7.5 billion ringgit. So this is what we call some data on fisheries for Malaysia. Okay, we have a fishing area in West Coast, East Coast, Sarawak, Sabah, and Labuan. Okay, we have inshore fisheries, we have deep sea fisheries. Deep sea fisheries means the fishing what we call beyond 30 nautical miles from the shore. So most of the production for Malaysia is from west coast of Peninsular Malaysia, about 800,000 tons. For the east coast, about 300,000 tons. And we have from Sarawak, less than 200,000 tons. And also from Sabah, less than 200,000 tons. And we have a small portion from Labuan. And you see from Penang, about 20 plus 30 something thousand tons. Okay, most of the fishing is in the coastal area. Well, for fishing gear, okay, most of the fish landed by trawl nets, as well as persin and gill nets. Three major gears: trawl net, persin, and gill nets. And we have other gears which contributed not so much. Okay. For the what we call the species and gear, this is a major species. We have The highest one is pelaling or temenung. In scientific term, we call this res relia brachysoma. And then the second highest is selayang. And then kembung. Kembung means the bigger kembung, means res relia kanagurta, mostly caught in Terengganu, Kelantan, Pahang, Johor waters. Okay. And then we have ikan ubi, then kerisi, udang baring, and so on. So we have also some udang here. Udang. Ikan air means small tuna, neritik tuna. So we have also some ketam, also tuna oceanic, big tuna, mostly caught in Sabah waters, Sulu, Sulawesi, as well as in the what we call north of Sabah. From this, 220,000 metric tons are ikan baja. That means the fish that cannot be eaten by us, but will be sold to the factory for the processing of other production. So, ikan baja, 77% of this fish are produced by trawlers. So most of ikan baja is produced by trawlers. This is aquaculture. In 2018, we produce about this is the production. The whole country, yeah. And also I have data for Penang. Penang not so much, about yeah, 26,000 metric tons, 28,000 metric tons of aquaculture fish. So most of the fish in Malaysia are cultured in freshwater ponds, ex-mining pools, freshwater cages, cement tanks, canvas tanks is for freshwater, and for brackish water we have brackish water ponds, brackish water cages, brackish water tanks, brackish water pen culture, as well as we have mollusk culture, as well as seaweed culture, mostly in Sabah. So if you can see from this figure, most of our data for aquaculture production are from seaweed in Sabah. So if we produce more seaweed, and we can have more higher data in aquaculture production. We also have ornamental fish. So the data is in pieces. 300 million tails of fish for ornamental. As well as we also produce aquatic plants. 117 what we call bundle of aquatic plants in Malaysia produced every year in 2018. So for Penang, we have a pendaratan ikan laut 48,000 ton. We have also data on zone A, zone B, zone C, and so on. The number of fishermen. We have oh, sorry. We have 7,800, 7,900 vessels. And this from it is aquaculture. We have some data on aquaculture production in Penang. Freshwater 2,000 tons, brackish water 26,000 tons. The major species are siakap, ikan merah, jenahak, kerapu, and udang putih. So let's say what we call our PCC 46 kilo, 47 kilo per person per year for overall Malaysia. So if population of Penang is 2 million, so we will need about 94,000 tons per year of fish. I think for 2018, we just produced 76,000 tons. So we are still lacking 18,000 tons of food fish in Penang. So a lot of work needs to be done to produce enough fish for our consumption of the population of Penang. So for issues and challenges, we will need to provide enough food fish for Malaysian population. In 2019, our population is 32.6 million, and it will increase to 38 million in 2030. If current per capita consumption about 47 kilos, so in 2030 we will need 1.78 million tons of food fish. That means we will still need about 1.4 million tons extra to cover all the population. So how this can be done? It is through aquaculture as well as deep sea fisheries. We cannot rely on coastal fisheries because we are already overexploited in most of the waters. So second issue is marine fisheries under pressure. Okay, this is the data, demersal fish biomass in comparison to virgin stock biomass in 1960s. So for the first 1970s, you can see the bluish area. Most of the area in the waters of Malaysia is in greenish area. So greenish area means we still have 60% to 100% of fish stock as compared to 1960s. But you can see the fish in the west coast already in the red area, less than 40%. In 1980s, most of the areas in the Peninsula Malaysia, we got red color, less than 40% of the biomass. And then for 1980s, also we have what we call a red color of the biomass compared to 1960s. And at present, all the areas in the Peninsula Malaysia, we just have what we call just a few percent of fish available as compared to the 1960s. But we still have a greenish and also whitish area in Sabah and Sarawak. But for Peninsula, we are almost overexploited. So we have another issue is on pollution. Oil spill, threat. Last time in Penang. Okay. So many issues on pollution nowadays as a result of development. Okay. Also we have issues on coastal development. So this is Penang in 1991. On your left, 1991, and for 2021. So land reclamation in Penang. So these all are the areas for fish breeding or fish nursery ground. So how you can imagine, you can expect the future of fisheries in Penang or in Strait of Malacca if we have a more rapid development in the future. These are what we call a keluhan nelayan as a result of development. So we come to climate change. So most of you, I think, have already known this figure on the what we call the warming of what we call the global warming. Okay, you can see if just natural forcing, we have quite constant temperature, but with the anthropogenic forcing, there will be higher temperature in the future. This is the temperature for Peninsular Malaysia. Land temperature, land temperature. So mean temperature for 50 years will rise of about 1.1 degree Celsius. Okay. In Peninsular Malaysia, in Sabah, 1.2 degree, while for Sarawak, 0.6 degree. This, what we call these figures are from Met Malaysia. And this is from our analysis. From 1985 to 2014, this is the sea surface temperature. West coast of Peninsular Malaysia will experience the increase of temperature of about 1.1 degrees Celsius. East coast is about 1.0, Sarawak 1.0, Sabah 0.5, Sabah Sulawesi 0.5. So we have a quite high in temperature increase nowadays as compared to previous. Okay. This is a rainfall trend for Peninsular Malaysia. I take this from Map Malaysia also. So, according to Map Malaysia, no overall clear trend of rainfall for the country. High variability of rainfall probably due to tropical climate. So the impact of climate change on marine fisheries due to SST increase are more frequent harmful algae bloom, increased incidence of disease and parasites, altering local ecosystem, changes in plankton composition, damage to coral reef, less dissolved oxygen, as well as changes of fish habitat. Okay, this is from our analysis. In the west coast of Peninsular Malaysia from 1997 to 2014, the higher the temperature, the lower the chlorophyll content of the water. This is the coral bleaching. Coral reef, as you already know, is permanent habitat for many important fish species as well as for food supply for fish. Higher sea temperature is a major cause of coral bleaching and damage to reef ecosystem around the globe. The coral is able to produce calcium carbonate through a process we call it calcification. Due to increase of carbon dioxide as well as ocean acidification, calcification is expected to decrease by 60% in 2100. Okay. So on your right, I have data from my reading. Average live coral cover from 180 selected sites in Malaysia. In 2014, we have 48%, reduced to 45 or 46% in 2015, and also reduced again in 2019 to 41%. So this is the analysis of what we call a distribution map of the ikan kembung Raja Kanagurta. So the top map is for current distribution. You can see the Malaysian waters are suitable for Raja Kanagurta. But in 2050, since we have the increase in sea surface temperature, there will be no more suitable habitat for ikan kembung in Malaysian waters. So ikan kembung will migrate to other places, other waters that is cooler, such as in China waters, Vietnam waters, as well as Indonesian waters. This is our study with UKM previously. For the first row, if the temperature increased by 1.8 degrees Celsius, this is the habitat, suitable habitat for ikan kembung Raja Kanagurta. And if temperature decreased by 2.6%. So almost all the waters of the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia is not suitable for this kind of species. And if the temperature increase by 3.3%, so we will have no ikan kembung in east coast in the future. So this is the sea level rise from Nahrim. You can see we have a sea level rise in 2100. So this is the shoreline topography of the Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak. If the sea level raised up 1.5 meter as well as 1 meter, you can see most of the coastal area will be flooded by the seawater. So we have what is our action on climate change? Mitigation. So you can see that fisheries consumption of energy is not quite much. As well as agriculture, just 2% only of the energy consumed by this sector. And we have we call greenhouse gas emission from agriculture, just 4% only. So for agriculture sector, mitigation is not quite what we call a big issue, but we have to concentrate more on adaptation. What are adaptation what are the adaptation that we can explore into? We should exploit fish resources sustainably by improving our fisheries management, what we call building our artificial reef. We strengthen our monitoring, control and surveillance (MCS), and also for others we call. And that for aquaculture development, we should produce aquaculture. We should what we call follow the MyGap certification for aquaculture production, as well as we should also aware on the environment as well as research. We have some data on our research in RMK 11 under FRI. We receive about 88 million ringgit to undertake 4 main research on aquaculture, fish health, fish resources, as well as impact study and turtles. Okay. So for aquaculture, we have a few what we call program on broodstock development, on feed formulation, new resources, as well as culture technology. This we call research activities aim at developing our aquaculture sector to become more modern, and we can produce more fish in the future. For capture fisheries, we have 5 main activities: marine resource survey, biology study, fishing technology, responsible fishing, as well as resource conservation. We also have a study on impact, water quality, ecology, algae, toxin, population study, biosocioeconomic, as well as toxicology. And we have also research on fish health, on epizootiology, vaccine and diagnostic kit, as well as alternative treatment. Also, we have some research in aquata, on seahorse, on mapping of seagrass bed and coral, breeding of clownfish, coral propagation. So we have some new technology for commercialization. Also, we have some commercialization. And this is the planning for 2021 to 2030, still in progress. And then one of the title of the research is climate change. With that, Madam Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kassim. It was very, very insightful. I myself learned a lot about our fisheries sector. And I guess FRI has done a lot of research, is doing a lot of research. The question is, I guess, is to get it manifested in our policy and also implementation. I think this will be the challenges. Thank you again for your very informative session. And for our next guest is Professor Syed Azam-Ali. Professor Syed was the founding CEO of Crops for the Future since 2011. He was also the chair of the Association of International Research and Development Centers for Agriculture, which focuses on increasing global food security by supporting smallholder agriculture. And he also holds the chair in global food security at the University of Nottingham. So Professor Syed, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Shin Wei. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm very grateful to be invited, but my greetings to colleagues and experts who are talking very much about the Malaysian situation, and my greetings to those who are attending this webinar. I've read and I'm very impressed with your draft agriculture report. I think it's excellent, and I think there's a great strategy there. Of course, like everything, it's the devil is in the detail. How do we deliver it? And what I thought I would add to the discussion, which is not very strong in this report, is international experience or the international dimension. So I'm going to take 3 case studies from outside Malaysia and see what we can learn from that I think would be particularly relevant for Penang, Malaysia more generally, but specifically Penang. And I want to put it in the context of the last 4 months, because of course we keep hearing the new normal and things will never be the same again. And post-COVID, how we're going to deal with all the issues of which food security is eminent or an important one. So I want to address this first. And I think Penangites will feel the same as everybody else. The future now seems very uncertain. We're not clear exactly how we're going to deal with it. So the new normal has not been actually planned. We know it's not going to be the same as we imagine it won't be the same as the old way of doing things. But I suppose instead of detailed statistics, we can just conclude that the future is uncertain. It's going to be volatile. And climate change, which has been in our background, in our back of our minds for a long time, is now a reality. We're seeing it very much in our lives. We're seeing extreme events. Of course, we're seeing, floods and high rainfall, but we're of course experiencing higher temperatures. But it isn't near enough for us to take action. We're thinking of climate change as somewhere still in the distance, which of course it isn't, but it's not an immediate impact, whereas COVID-19 has been an immediate impact. And it's had an impact in particular ways that we were very, I think, complacent about. Supply chains. We were going to get our food. If we wanted a blueberry from California, it would be on our supermarket shelves from around the other half of the world whenever we wanted it. So supply chains, we felt, were just in time. We could buy basically anything we wanted. We could decide what we wanted to eat or where we wanted to get our food from. And that complacency has now shaken us, because those supply chains, we now realize, are very vulnerable. And they're not just vulnerable because of climate change, they're vulnerable because of the whole business of actually moving food from very long distances to satisfy our needs here. And as you will know, and colleagues will know, Malaysia has a very significant import bill for food, something like 60 billion ringgit food imports. So it's vulnerable to any supply chain disturbances. The other thing that struck us, and which we haven't really taken very seriously, is the pandemic has really made us focus on our health. And we're now realizing that health, and I know we talk about the statistics of COVID, but one of the most significant statistics is the healthier we are, the more resilient, the more immune system, a better immune system, the more resilient we are to COVID-19. And therefore, health now plays a very important part. And we all have, each country, and Malaysia is of course very significantly in this category, we have very high levels of obesity, non-communicable diseases, and all these issues now becoming real to us because it actually affects us, because if we're obese, if we have hypertension, if we have diabetes, we're much more vulnerable to the effects of the COVID-19. What has that done? It's made us rethink in our lockdown about our own lives. I think we're now much more aware that we were rushing around doing lots of things, buying things and shopping and traveling and of course eating out. And it's now really made us focus much more on family, on food, even on cooking, and very much because the long supply chains were disturbed, we've been looking to localize our food. We've been saying, can we buy this locally because it's not available? And we've become much more interested in where our food comes from. So that's really the context. That's what I wanted to see, how we could set this out in terms of uncertainty and see where there are good examples and case studies, because other parts of the world have been through this before, not because of the pandemic particularly, but of political and environmental concerns that actually give us some examples of how we could actually think about the situation ourselves from where other people and other countries have had experience. The three case studies I'm going to take are Qatar, Singapore, nearer to home, and Scotland. So let me just take you through as quickly as I can. I'm conscious of time. Three case studies, and just see how these case studies might be relevant to Malaysia in general, but particularly to Penang, because I think there are specific examples that could be relevant for Penang. I went to Qatar in 2015 as a part of a delegation, and there were a lot of interest in things like medical tourism to Malaysia and real estate purchases and other opportunities for Qatari investment. And I was very surprised that the biggest turnout and the biggest interest was actually in food security. And I imagined Qatar was entirely food secure. Why would they be concerned about food security? And the reason was because they were importing 90% of their food, and they were importing 40% of it across the Saudi border. And of course, we found the reasons why they were so concerned about food security when there was a blockade of Qatar by the Emirates and Saudi Arabia, of course, in June 2017. And Qatar had to completely rethink this question of food and supply chains and depending on someone else to grow their food and supply it to them. And the transformation was remarkable. And of course, Qatar is a rich country, but it's also the most water-stressed country on the planet. It actually has to desalinize all of its water. And of course, we're well aware of how hot Qatar and how dry Qatar is. So it's a very hostile environment. And everybody in Qatar, which was then safely saying, well, we could buy all our food from somewhere else, suddenly reconsidered that and said, how can we actually secure our own food supply in this desert without water? And how can we do this so that we don't have to depend on foreign imports? And of course, they couldn't do it overnight. But if we look at the statistics, they're remarkable. Qatar now produces 60% of its own vegetables from very, very small numbers in 2015. And it's completely independent in its dairy supply because it's got grazing and feed and it's got livestock. So you can see how quickly Qatar realized it couldn't depend on the rest of the world, and it made a huge transformation of its agriculture sector to actually invest and develop a food security strategy for the country. And if we look forward to 2025, it isn't going to be using clean water from desalinization. It's going to be and it's going to be banning groundwater, which is where it's been, of course, accessing most of its water for irrigation. It's going to use only sewage treated water, and it's going to have a completely circular economy in which organic hydroponics and intelligent systems are actually going to provide water with a much lower carbon footprint and a much lower water footprint. So that's one example which I think is highly relevant, because it shows the speed of change if you make the decision that agriculture and food security are very important. Let's take the example of Singapore, which of course we're more familiar with. And we see Singapore as the top country in the world in terms of the global food security index, which really comes as a surprise if you look at Singapore's location and landmass. So how is Singapore the most food secure country in the world? It's gone now to 180 countries from where it gets its food. It's distributed its food imports, diversified its supply chains. It knows it can switch between countries. And only in the last 2-3 years, it's gone from 140 to 180 countries from where it gets its food. So food security index, Singapore is very secure in the, if you like, in the definition of food security, it can get its food supplies in. But Singapore's made a very significant decision. And again, colleagues may have heard of this, but it's a very important transition of Singapore to food security, because it has a strategy called 30 by 30. And here we are in 2020. By 2030, Singapore will go from 4% food security to 30% food security. So 30% food security for a landmass as small as Singapore is an incredible decision. But interestingly, it doesn't call it food security, it calls it nutritional security. And that's one of the issues I want to come back to in terms of some of the issues going forward for Penang. So it is actually looking at nutrition, not staples, not major crops on the landmass they've got, but on high value addition, and making Singapore a food hub, a food manufacturing hub with value addition on ingredients that it can bring in. Now, to do that, you actually have to rethink your whole agricultural strategy, because you're now looking at nutrition rather than food security, and you're looking at technologies that give you the value addition. And those technologies are around, but we have a few examples where they're commercially viable and where people have actually looked at vertical farming and shown that it's actually economically viable. All that will change, because it now becomes an imperative to have vertical farming, urban farming, agri-tech, young people, all rethinking agriculture as not a sunset industry, but actually the new frontier. And the third example I'll give for that is Scotland. And of course, all of you will know Scotland is a cold place, and it's not the sort of place you would imagine is a major agricultural exporter apart from cereals. But actually Scotland and the James Hutton Institute, which we work with, has developed vertical farming modules, vertical farming systems with a company called Intelligent Growth Solutions, in which they can use much lower energy, because of course it's energy costs that are most expensive in vertical farming. They've now reduced the energy cost by 50% using cool-like technologies and insulation, and they've reduced the labor cost by 80%. So you go, okay, so there's technology there, and they've got vertical farming. What are they doing in that space? They're actually growing high-value plants that they can actually export from Scotland. And if I give you an example, basil, they're exporting herbs, typically identified with Italy, to Italy. So they're growing basil in the north of Scotland, and they're selling it to high-end restaurants, hotels in London, where they were before lockdown, and even selling basil to Italy. Now that is a remarkable development, and of course that's just one example, but it can show how technology can support high-value agriculture in confined spaces. They're not growing lettuces, they're not growing the stuff that we would be very easily able to grow in urban situations without vertical farming technology. But here they can grow plants and materials that actually have bioactive compounds, that have, of course, volatiles and flavors, all of which actually add the value to the raw material. So how's that relevant for Penang? Well, I think it's very relevant for a couple of reasons, and I'll come to them. But if we just take land, and we always have this question, have we got enough land for agriculture? And I know the statistics in your report talk about, you know, agriculture is being encroached, the land area under agriculture is declining. Let me give you some of the figures for the other countries. Qatar now has a land area of 11,000 square kilometers, not huge, of which only 7% is agriculture. 640 square kilometers. So in 7% of its land area, it's aiming to achieve food security, and both in terms of vegetables and protein and plant products, but also its livestock. So that demonstrates that the area, and bear in mind this is a desert, it's not 7% of very high productive arable land, it's 7% that is agriculture. Singapore is even more remarkable because its land allocation to agriculture is 0.9%. 1% of its land area is agriculture. You know, the figures are remarkable. 6 kilometers, 6 square kilometers, sorry, 7 square kilometers of land in Singapore is agriculture. So how is it going to get to 30% food security? Of course, it's going to look at the urban environment. What we now see, which we see across the world, a lot of capital investment in buildings, which are now going to be, because people are going to work at home, and of course, there's going to be a whole rethinking about how we use office space. Singapore is already thinking about how office space can now be used, and of course, roof spaces can be used now for agriculture, rather than taking more land that it doesn't have in terms of agricultural production. And Scotland, of course, statistics will be very different because Scotland's a large country, but it hasn't gone for extensive, it's gone for intensive. Even though it has a land area, it has to look at high value, so it's gone for vertical. So just, if I may just give some suggestions for Penang, it's up, of course, to Penang how it takes its initiative forward. But I think Penang now has an opportunity to become a brand in itself in terms of quality. And it won't just be about food security, which is very important, self-sufficiency, which is very important, but it will be about, when you think of Penang, what do you think in terms of your food supply? And I think Penangites will want that to be healthy, and they will want to celebrate their cuisine, and very relevant. When we get the tourists back, they won't want cheap and cheerful food. They will want safe food, they will want nutritious food, they will want local cuisines, all of which they know have come from a safe source and have been provided from local supply chains. So the tourism industry, cuisine, and local demand now for safer, more nutritious food can all be linked together, so that we can have all the tools we now have, traceability, blockchain, agri-tech, young people, all driving apps, of course, which we now have all available for us, is to be able to say, I want to know where my food comes from, I want to know it's safe for me to eat, I want to know if it's nutritious for me, and how I can get this when I go shopping or go to a restaurant, that it's actually all of those things that I want. So I think those are the issues, and climate will come into that because it has to be climate resilient. And we can't just assume that the climate is going to change, because it is, but we have to, as colleague has just said, we have to be adaptable to that climate. And that means our agriculture systems have to become much more resilient. And that will include going indoors. It will do agri-tech, of course, it will include helping farmers in terms of management decisions and support tools. And it will also include diversification, which is, of course, one of the most important things that Malaysia needs to consider, that hosting 5% of the world's biodiversity and not using any of it is a huge opportunity missed. It's actually a treasure trove of biodiversity, and all those things I've said before could be leveraged on in terms of agri-tech, in terms of all these new technologies that are available, is to actually use the biodiversity that Malaysia has already got, for nutrition, for bioactive compounds, even for medicines. All of these opportunities are there if we rethink how we approach our agriculture systems. So I think those are my main points.
Thank you, Professor Syed. Thank you for your examples and how that can hopefully inspire Penang. I think one of your main messages is that we do need to think outside the box. So we can't do things the conventional way anymore, because the conventional ways do not equip us to face with climate change threat. And also it got us into the situation in the first place. So what you were saying was using land more efficiently, perhaps, and also focusing on the nutritional value of food, not necessarily the quantity, but perhaps we can pack in as much energy in a smaller quantity of food, for example. So I guess your message is think outside the box and innovate. So our next guest is Mr. Izhan. Mr. Izhan is the president of Persatuan Pelapis Usahawan Tani Lestari, or Pelapis, and he will share with us some ideas of some of the measures that are being promoted to increase the efficiency in terms of marketing, to increase access of market for farmers in order to increase their welfare, increase their standard of living in a way that would hopefully attract new incomers from the younger generation. Thank you, Mr. Izhan. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you to Dr. Shin Wei, moderator, for our webinar session today. Yang dihormati para panel sekalian, Encik Muhaimin, Pengarah Jabatan Pertanian Pulau Pinang, Encik Kassim, Senior Research Officer daripada FRI, seterusnya Profesor Syed Azam-Ali, Founding CEO of Crops for Future Research Center. Dan selamat datang kepada semua penonton. Assalamualaikum dan selamat pagi. Pertamanya kami mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Penang Green Council kerana memberi ruang pada pelapis untuk jadi salah seorang panel pada hari ini. Topik yang menarik dan kita dah dengar poin-poin yang penting dan menarik daripada ketiga-tiga panel. Dan agak risau juga. Bukan risau sebab tak buat apa-apa, tapi kita tahu Kementerian Pertanian dan juga agensi-agensi yang berkaitan telah berusaha sedaya upaya untuk tangani cabaran, tapi tetap juga ada. InsyaAllah kita working together untuk sama-sama cari solution. Untuk jadi panel terakhir ni tough sikit, jadi saya harap tuan-tuan dan perempuan dapat terus bersama saya sehingga ke akhir sesi. Okay, sedikit background saya Muhammad Izhan bin Wahab, pendidikan degree in IT daripada Multimedia University. Saya bekerja di salah sebuah syarikat telekomunikasi TM lebih hampir pada 18 tahun. Sekarang bekerja dengan bersama rakan di syarikat IT dalam bidang biometrik, teknologi tampin dan juga face recognition, juga dalam motion capture. Bidang ni digunakan dalam industri perfilman dan juga kesihatan. Okey, saya akan share screen. Okey, tajuk untuk saya hari ini adalah digitizing agriculture. Sedikit makluman untuk Persatuan Pelapis. Kami buat program untuk memupuk minat masyarakat dalam pertanian. Jadi kami untuk semua peringkat lapisan, baik di sekolah, untuk belia dan juga komuniti. Samping itu kami juga sediakan modul-modul sampingan untuk memberi pendedahan tentang food system dan juga food security. Dah tentu pelapis selama ini bekerja rapat bersama dengan Jabatan Pertanian, terutamanya di SPU, Jabatan Perpaduan, Jabatan Pendidikan, Penang Green Council semestinya, dan juga beberapa agensi-agensi jabatan lain. Okey, untuk topik digitizing agriculture, kita sebenarnya patut rasa syukur dan beruntung sebab beberapa tahun kebelakangan ni Kementerian Pertanian dan juga agensi-agensi memang banyak memberi fokus kepada industri pertanian. Jadi banyak usaha-usaha telah dan juga bantuan-bantuan telah ditawarkan supaya industri pertanian di negara kita berkembang maju dan berdaya saing. Dan seiring dengan Industrial Revolution 4.0, sektor pertanian juga tak terlepas daripada impak dan kesan positif seperti sektor-sektor lain. Okay, objektif pembintangan saya pada hari ini ada 3 yang saya nak sentuh. Pertama, apabila kita bercimpung dalam suatu perniagaan, sudah tentu paling penting adalah keuntungan, profit. Bagaimana bila kita guna IT ni, usahawan tani boleh dapat untung yang lebih. Dengan pendekatan digital, usahawan tani dapat mengurangkan kos-kos tertentu. Malah mereka juga dapat mengawal penggunaan sumber seperti baja, air dan juga tenaga manusia secara optimum. Jadi dapat elakkan pembaziran kat situ. Keduanya, dengan penggunaan IT, usahawan tani dapat kurangkan kesilapan manusia. Jadi semua buat secara auto. Jadi secara tak langsung, semua aktiviti pengurusan penjagaan ladang akan menjadi lebih cepat dan sistematik. Seterusnya yang ketiga, teknologi yang ada pada hari ini dapat juga mengurangkan risiko. Contohnya, kalau cuaca panas, sistem dapat beri amaran pada usahawan tani untuk buat siraman tambahan pada pokok. Jadi dapat elak pokok daripada kering dan mati. Sama juga dengan kes serangan serangga. Sistem yang ada pada hari ini boleh beri notification atau amaran pada peladang untuk mengambil tindakan yang sewajarnya. Sebab kita dah ada teknologi drone dan sebagainya. Ya. Jadi harapan saya untuk pembintangan ni, semoga usahawan tani yang ada sekarang terus fokus dan konsisten dengan bidang yang ada, bidang pertanian ni, dan juga untuk yang muda belia atau graduan yang baru grad supaya timbul minat dalam industri pertanian. Sebab kira pertanian sekarang bukan lagi low class, banyak teknologi-teknologi yang dah diperkenalkan. Jadi mungkin satu masa nanti teknologi yang ada di industri pertanian lebih advance berbanding sektor-sektor yang lain. Okey, apa tu digitizing agriculture? Jadi saya introduce ataupun explain sikit apa elemen yang ada. Pertamanya, computerized data. Semua data disimpan dalam network. Dia bukan sahaja simpan data tentang siapa pengusaha tanaman, kebun di mana, ataupun tanaman apa yang diusahakan. Tapi juga data mengenai persekitaran kebun, seperti jenis tanah, nutrien tanah, kelembapan tanah, pH tanah, suhu dan lain-lain. Sekarang kita dah tak perlu masukkan secara manual. Macam dulu kena masuk satu persatu. Sekarang sebab dah ada teknologi sensor terutamanya, semua data dapat secara automatik. Jadi sensor-sensor ni dipasang dekat media, dekat tanaman, dekat tanah dan persekitaran kebun. Drone juga digunakan untuk ambil gambar, record gambar atau image, dan semestinya semua perataan ini dimasukkan ke dalam network secara automatik. Seterusnya, automated processes. Jadi melibatkan AI, Artificial Intelligence, IoT, Internet of Things dan robotik. Untuk kerja-kerja rutin di ladang, sekarang dah boleh dilakukan secara automatik dengan menggunakan IoT, AI dan juga robotik. Contoh, semburan racun dan baja kita boleh gunakan drone. Pembaja dan siraman pun kita sekarang dah boleh guna pipe dan sprinkler. Sensor akan dipasang pada alat-alat ni untuk kawal kepekatan baja dan kadar air yang disalurkan. Semua alat-alat ni kita boleh programkan untuk melakukan kerja secara automatik mengikut jadual berkala. Selain itu, jentera pun kita boleh programkan untuk dia bergerak sendiri dengan menggunakan teknologi GPS dan dikawal oleh robot. Dan yang terakhir, elemen yang ada dalam digitizing agriculture adalah online application. Jadi dashboard atau mengawal aktiviti ladang. Jadi usahawan tani sekarang dah tak perlu ada di ladang. Dia hanya perlu handphone je sekarang dan internet access. Sebab apa? Sebab sekarang dah ada aplikasi yang direkti khas untuk usahawan tani untuk melihat keadaan di kebun, di ladang. Jadi aplikasi ini juga kita kenali sebagai dashboard. Kenapa boleh jadi begitu? Sebab sekarang data semua disimpan dalam network. Jadi usahawan tani boleh akses data atau memantau keadaan ladang mereka pada bila-bila masa atau di mana sekalipun. Selagi itulah ada smartphone dan juga internet access. Selain mengawal ladang secara online, ada juga portal ataupun platform untuk pembelian secara online. Jadi memudahkan usahawan tani untuk memasarkan produk. Challenges. Tadi beberapa panel pun dah sebut beberapa challenges, hampir lebih kurang. Jadi saya sentuh sikit, antaranya misconception. Untuk teknologi, kita kena lihat dia sebagai leverage. Betul kalau kata tak guna pun, pertanian berjalan seperti biasa. Contoh kita ambil macam nak gembur tanah, kita boleh guna macam-macam alat untuk gembur tanah seperti gunakan cangkul, binatang ternak kerbau dan juga jentera. Dan untuk contoh ni, jentera adalah salah satu contoh leverage. Dengan adanya leverage ni, kita dapat jimatkan banyak masa dan tenaga. Dan untuk apa kita dapatkan untuk perkara yang lebih penting atau perkara lain untuk meningkatkan lagi produktiviti kita. Kedua, mindset readiness. Mindset readiness bukan sahaja berlaku dekat usahawan tani atau di luar bandar, tapi di semua sektor sebenarnya. Baik di korporat, swasta, syarikat dan lain-lain. Bila kita nak buat satu perubahan tu memang sukar, ambil masa. Antara cabarannya, ya pertama sebab takut. Kita tak tahu apa hasil yang kita dapat bila kita buat satu perubahan. Dan yang kedua, kita dah rasa selesa dengan cara sedia ada. Jadi kita kena provide atau sediakan khusus motivasi untuk para usahawan supaya dapat tingkatkan kefahaman dan juga kita boleh beri latihan kemahiran tentang IT secara berterusan. Yang keduanya, kalau kita ada proof of concept lagi senang. Bila ada proof of concept ni, benda dah nampak, jadi tinggal nak buat je. Okay, yang ketiga, vast industry. Memang pertanian ni satu industri yang luas, yang besar. Kalau kita tengok sekarang dalam struktur dipecahkan kepada 3 pun, pertanian, perikanan dan juga peternakan masih lagi besar. Kita tak nafikan. Tapi tetap boleh buat, cuma kena ada pelaksanaan, strategi dalam pelaksanaan. Mungkin boleh buat pilot project, lead sama ada usahawan tani itu sendiri atau daripada jabatan atau daripada kementerian ataupun daripada syarikat swasta yang melabur. Ataupun boleh mulakan juga dengan satu jenis tanaman ataupun teknik tanaman mitigasi contohnya, dan juga kita boleh buat secara peringkat. Mungkin start dengan pemasaran yang mana sekarang ni banyak platform diperkenalkan, dan kita dah selesai hal pemasaran, kita terus pada peringkat-peringkat yang lain. Dan yang terakhir, tips kepada memang bila sebut teknologi perlukan kos yang besar, tapi insyaAllah kita boleh atasi dengan buat kolaborasi sama ada dengan pihak-pihak swasta, korporat, IPT, Institut Pengajian Tinggi. Sebab IPT dia ada tawarkan grant penyelidikan, dan untuk sektor korporat swasta baru-baru ni, contohnya seperti Asia, mereka launch, tahniah kepada Asia dan juga Kementerian Pertanian, mereka launch satu e-commerce untuk petani-petani. Nanti insyaAllah saya akan kongsikan juga. Dan ada satu usaha sama ataupun kerjasama yang berjaya di Selangor melalui projek, mungkin ada yang pernah dengar, iaitu e-satellite farm di antara PPK pelelangan, pihak swasta, syarikat ETAS, MDEC dan juga usahawan tani. InsyaAllah nanti saya akan kongsikan juga projek e-satellite farm. Okey, sedikit kita tengok Kerajaan Akbar, berita-berita yang keluar semasa COVID-19. Kita akui memang digitizing agriculture ni nak buat banyak cabarannya, seperti yang kita highlight sebentar tadi. Namun kita kena mulakan sesuatu. Tambahan bila jadi COVID-19 ni, banyak sektor terkesan termasuklah pertanian. Mungkin yang ni kita boleh jadikan sebab mengapa kita perlu digitizing agriculture. Okay, antara yang sensasi, Vietnam dia henti ekspor beras. Mungkin sekarang kita boleh lagi import daripada negara-negara lain. Tapi apa jadi kalau kata semua negara pun dia hentikan ekspor. Jadi Malaysia kena buat something untuk tingkatkan produktiviti pengeluaran makanan supaya tak bergantung pada negara luar. Malah di sini daripada Jabatan Perangkaan Negara, mereka juga turut mengeluarkan artikel untuk menggesa supaya kita fokus pada pertanian yang berasaskan makanan. Di samping tu, kalau kita lihat masa awal-awal PKP, pergerakan bukan sahaja terhad antara negara, malah antara negeri. Even tak boleh nak bergerak lebih daripada 10 km radius. Jadi masalah waktu itu, dikesan daripada perintah tu ramai usahawan tani terjejas akibat tak dapat nak pasarkan hasil tanaman. Bagi yang tahu IT, alhamdulillah mereka boleh gunakan platform digital untuk buat pemasaran. Jadi yang cabarannya yang tak tahu. Jadi di situ kita boleh bantulah pada masa depan. Apa yang jadi bila tak dapat pasarkan, banyak produk mereka terbiar, rosak dan kena dibuang begitu saja. Okey, berikut saya kongsikan beberapa platform yang ada di market yang boleh industri pertanian gunakan. Okey, ada aplikasi online shopping seperti Lazada, Shopee. Di sini kalau kita lihat agrobazar daripada farmer pun menggunakan platform yang sama untuk bantu pemasaran hasil tani. Kemudian ada aplikasi food delivery seperti GrabFood, Foodpanda, Delivery Eat. Okey. Jadi para usahawan dia boleh cuba semua platform yang ada, cuma perlu lihat kesesuaian produk. Ada setengah produk tu tak sesuai dengan certain platform. Okey. Our Farm yang baru launch, sebuah e-commerce yang dilancarkan oleh Asia untuk menghubungkan petani terus kepada pelanggan. Projek ni seperti yang dinyatakan tadi, tahniah kepada Kementerian Pertanian dan juga Asia. Jadi kerjasama ini dengan Kementerian Pertanian dan Industri Makanan. Objektifnya pertama untuk meningkatkan pendapatan petani dengan menghapuskan kos orang tengah dan juga menyediakan sokongan logistik. Selain itu, peniaga kecil pun dia dapat kurangkan kos dengan pembelian langsung pada petani-petani ini sehingga 25%. Untuk masa ni, Our Farm dia fokus dekat Klang Valley dan urusan pun terhad kepada antara petani dengan peniaga seperti restoran, peniaga-peniaga kecil. Jadi akan datang insya-Allah platform ni akan dikembangkan ke seluruh Malaysia dan juga semua pengguna. Jadi pengguna biasa seperti kita pun dapat menggunakan platform ni. Dan selain platform pemasaran, ini inisiatif daripada Jabatan Pertanian. So kita dah boleh install app ni, Agrimart. Apa yang ada dalam Agrimart. Jadi aplikasi ni dia sebenarnya adaptasi daripada buku Asas Matematik Pertanian. Dia memberi maklumat, pelbagai maklumat untuk pengiraan teknik tanaman untuk pelbagai jenis tanaman, sayur-sayuran, buah-buahan, tanaman singkat masa, termasuk lebah madu, lebah kelulut, fertigasi pun ada, dan juga cash flow untuk bantu rancang perbelanjaan pada semua usahawan tani. Okey, model smart farming. Kalau kita lihat sekarang, kalau kita tengok buat bacaan research, memang sekarang di seluruh dunia memperkatakan tentang konsep smart farming. Jadi dalam gambar ni kita dapat lihat berbagai sensor sudah ada yang masih dibangunkan. Jadi progres itu terus berjalan. Antaranya teknologi yang digunakan untuk smart farming ni seperti IoT saya sebut tadi, GPS, drone, sensor, actuator. Jadi jenis-jenis sensor dipasang di ladang untuk mengukur dan merekod pelbagai bacaan termasuk nutrien tanah, pergerakan angin, suhu udara, suhu dan kelembapan tanah, kehadiran serangga perosak, tekanan atau pergerakan tanah dan sebagainya. Jadi maklumat-maklumat ni akan capture dengan sensor. Sensor dia akan hantar kepada mesin ataupun device untuk ditukar dalam bentuk maklumat atau data yang kita boleh faham. Jadi data yang dah dihasilkan nanti akan diproses oleh mesin AI, Artificial Intelligence. Jadi mesin komputer dia akan generate beberapa sekejap ya, saya move slide ke belakang balik. Okey, jadi komputer atau AI tadi dia akan hasilkan beberapa cadangan tindakan untuk diambil oleh petani. Di samping dia bagi beberapa cadangan tu, dia juga measure kesan-kesan kalau ambil tindakan tu, baik kesan jangka masa pendek ataupun jangka masa panjang untuk tanaman. Jadi sampai begitu sekali. Dan bila petani tu dah analyse semua, dah ambil kira semua aspek, dia buat keputusan, dia akan hantar balik maklumat decision yang dia buat tu pada mesin untuk buat tindakan-tindakan susulan. Okey, jadi semua ni berlaku secara remote. Maksudnya petani tak perlu berada di ladang, di kebun. Selagi dia ada internet access, ada smartphone, semua perkara tu boleh berlaku sekelip mata. Untuk Cikgu Kassim, saya minta maaf, banyak model yang saya kongsikan berkaitan dengan tanaman. Tapi saya ada juga buat research untuk aquaculture pun dah ada teknologi IoT untuk aquaculture. InsyaAllah dapat bantu perikanan Malaysia untuk atasi cabaran-cabaran yang ada sekarang ni. Okay, di Malaysia, tadi saya ada kongsikan di satellite farm. Kalau tengok tu perhatian berita antara projek terbesar pendanaan fertigasi. Yang ni dibuat kerjasama antara usahawan tani ni, Icon Agro, dia agak terkenal, iaitu saudara Encik Nur Hashim Kamisan. Okey, dari syarikat pewaris bumi hijau. Jadi kerjasama antara MDEC, PPK Kuala Langat dan juga syarikat ni Tetaus. Kalau kita lihat, memang tak secara keseluruhan lagi konsep smart farming ni dilaksanakan, tapi dah nampak kesan-kesan ataupun impak positif. Seperti itulah pengurusan kos, pendapatan, keuntungan meningkat. Jadi kalau tengok sini 80% pendapatan, kalau kira profit keuntungan, saya ada baca juga case study yang dikeluarkan oleh syarikat ETAS ni, dia dalam lingkungan 20 ke 30%. Jadi banyak juga peningkatan yang dibuat. Jadi untuk projek e-satellite farm ni, buat masa ni dia hanya tumpu pada tanaman teknik fertigasi dulu. Jadi sebab teknik mitigasi ni dah ada infra semua, rumah pelindung hujan dan sebagainya, senang nak pasang apa semua, dan juga hanya menggunakan media sabut, jadi senang kita nak pantau. Okey, dalam model ni antara sensor yang dipasang untuk membaca antaranya kepekatan baja, bacaan isi meter, bacaan tangki A dan B, status pam perbancuhan, status dan kawal pam irigasi untuk alirkan baja atau air ke tanaman. Kemudian sensor untuk mengukur suhu dan kelembapan udara. Jadi semua sensor-sensor ni akan centralize ke sini, hantar ke sensor ni, hub sensor. Jadi hub sensor akan submit data ke network dan seterusnya. Petani tadi hanya gunakan handphone untuk mengetahui status dan keadaan di ladang mereka. Jadi tak perlu ada di ladang. Cukup ada handphone, ada internet access. Okey. Dan kalau kita lihat untuk promosi smart farming ni di Malaysia, kalau tak silap saya, pada bulan September nanti tahun ni akan anjurkan satu expo Malaysia Smart Agriculture. Nanti boleh semak. So lagi banyak informasi teknologi yang kita boleh lihat dalam expo tu. Jadi saya pun insyaAllah akan pergi lihat. Mudah-mudahan memberi manfaat lah kepada kita semua, terutama kepada usahawan tani. Okey, untuk yang terakhir, sedikit saya kongsikan model yang disarankan oleh Badan Dunia, iaitu FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, berkenaan konsep climate smart agriculture. Saya sentuh secara ringkas sebab saya tak pergi detail, saya just konsep, saya akan sentuh konsep. Jadi yang dikatakan model climate smart agriculture ni, selain dia dikatakan smart farming, dia juga kena ambil kira pendekatan, dia kena ambil kira faktor ni, pendekatan, teknik, konsep dan jenis tanaman yang ditanam mesti bersesuaian dengan climate change. Jadi maksudnya kita kena buat yang mengikut arus, bukan lawan arus. Jadi yang ni contohnya, kalau kata benih, kita kena cari benih yang boleh tahan panas lama, yang boleh tahan kemarau, yang lebih air contohnya. Jadi kita kena respon efektif to climate change. Yang kedua, teknologi yang digunakan mesti dia tak merosakkan alam. Sebab tu dia anjurkan guna green technology, green energy, seperti tenaga solar. Begitu juga dengan jentera, kita boleh guna green energy, biofuel. Seterusnya, pelaksanaan secara local food system, seperti kata Prof tadi, rata-rata di bahagian dunia mula tengok pada local food system. Jadi ini penting kalau kita lihat balik isu COVID. Jadi setiap kawasan sepatutnya kita dah ada production. Maksudnya kalau jadi apa-apa sekatan pergerakan, kita boleh dapat daripada kawasan masing-masing. Contoh kalau kita di Penang, kita ada 5 daerah, SPU, SPT, SPS, Barat Daya, Timur Laut. Jadi setiap daerah tu ada pusat productionnya sendiri dan dipasarkan mengikut area dia sendiri. Kelebihannya kita nanti boleh buat pendataan supply dan demand. Jadi kawasan mana yang lebih makan, kurang makan. Jadi yang lebih makan kita boleh lihat kesihatan masyarakat di kawasan tu, obesity berapa peratus. Jadi banyak kelebihan bila kita mula buat secara local food system ni. Tambahan sekarang kita boleh buat scattered sebab dah ada smart farming, boleh pantau dari jauh kan. Jadi dengan kemudahan teknologi yang ada, semua ni possible. Dan yang terakhir, mungkin saya kongsikan sedikit, rakan kami, salah seorang ahli pelapis, merupakan pemegang PhD dalam mechanical engineering. Sekarang dia sedang buat kerjasama dengan salah satu universiti teknologi terkenal di India untuk bangunkan sistem smart track ni untuk serangan serangga. Jadi an integrate dia smart track ni kira dia tak mengganggu ekosistem dan menggunakan teknologi. Jadi sekarang masih lagi proses research dan dalam masih lagi buat kajian lah. InsyaAllah kalau ada penemuan-penemuan yang bagus, kita akan kongsikan dengan Jabatan Pertanian terutamanya, lebih lagi untuk petani tanaman padi. Kalau kita lihat 2-3 tahun lepas memang serangan teruk daripada serangga. Mudah-mudahan kita dapat bekerjasama dengan agensi-agensi yang lain untuk meningkatkanlah produktiviti makanan di Pulau Pinang. Thank you. So saya serahkan balik kepada Dr. Shin Wei.
Terima kasih, Mr. Izhan. Thank you. I think these are very interesting, and I think the question would be, how do we increase not just the capacity of farmers to use the technologies, but also how do we raise their confidence, like you pointed out. Thank you. We have sort of overrun the session, but I do want to squeeze in some questions that the listeners have posted. So maybe I'll give another 10 more minutes just to answer some questions if you guys are fine with it. Tuan Pengarah, Encik Muhaimin, are you still there? I think I'll just give each person maybe 1 to 2 questions. So if you can sort of give your answer in a timely manner, that will be a lot of help. Encik Muhaimin, can I give you the question now?
Yeah. Okay,
great. So for you, there are like 2 short questions. One is, is DOA in Penang is using the alternative wetting and drying, so AWD technologies that's using Arabic rice to make sure that the rice needs less water. So that's one. And another one is, is there any effort, like you mentioned, in terms of there's budget to promote urban farming? What are the challenges that is expected in terms of encouraging urban farming in Penang? So these are the 2 short questions for you.
Okay, thank you. First of all, tadi saya ada sebut berkenaan dengan SSL sayur and buah. Sebenarnya bagi SSL sayur 46.43 on 2018 and fruits 91.23.
Okay, so the other way around. Okay.
Yeah, right. That's okay. All right. So for the question is alternative wetting and drying AWD system, penggunaan beras aerobik yang guna air kurang daripada 50% daripada yang secara konvensional. So untuk makluman, pihak jabatan masih belum melaksanakan kaedah ini, dan kita mengharapkan terutamanya agensi pendidikan MARDI dan juga kerjasama Jabatan Pertanian, AIDA, LPP dan agensi-agensi lain untuk kita tengok juga kaedah ini adakah boleh dilaksanakan di Malaysia, especially di Penang. Cuma sebab isu air itu memang menjadi perkara yang sentiasa timbul dalam mana-mana, sama ada sidang DUN ke mana ke. So yang tu buat masa sekarang masih kita masih belum melaksanakan lah. But we are looking forward mengenai isu dan juga cadangan untuk AWD ini, pelaksanaan ini. Okay. For the second question is cabaran yang mungkin berlaku terhadap pelaksanaan urban farming and agriculture in Penang. Antara cabaran dalam pelaksanaan urban farming ini bagi kami adalah how to sustain. That the most important, how to sustain. Sebab every year kita di Penang diperuntukkan sebanyak 200,000 pelaksanaan projek urban farming, which is yang melibatkan individu dan juga komuniti. So every year, so tahun ni kita dapat tambahan insyaAllah, dan juga kompetitif di antara pembangunan dan juga pertanian. Seperti yang saya pelaksanaan program urban farming, penglibatan belia dalam sektor agriculture sangat penting sebab current farmers yang sedia ada sekarang dah umur average di Malaysia dan juga di Penang, average umur petani kita dah 50 ke atas, dan saya sangat-sangat mengharapkan kerjasama dengan pelapis, Cik Izhan especially, untuk kita bekerjasama dalam penglibatan belia. Kerajaan negeri dan juga kerajaan persekutuan, Kementerian Pertanian, Jabatan Pertanian ada pelbagai insentif dan juga pelbagai pelbagai suntikan daripada kerajaan untuk mengembangkan lagi belia-belia untuk terlibat dalam sektor pertanian. Sedikit saya sentuh juga mengenai IT, penggunaan IT di Penang. Kita ada projek halia di Arakuda yang mana projek-projek fertigasi terutamanya yang menggunakan IoT. Kalau boleh nanti insyaAllah boleh buat lawatan, kita tengok dan kerjasama. Yang tu investment daripada syarikat swasta. So tanpa bergantung harap pada any insentif daripada kerajaan. So dia orang telah melabur di Penang. Penggunaan teknologi di dalam pertanian, dalam padi, digitizing in agriculture, teknologi, penggunaan IoT dalam pertanian. Jabatan Pertanian Negeri Pulau Pinang telah bermula pada tahun lepas, dan tahun ini kita telah laksanakan di mana di Bumbung 5 kita telah membuat perolehan membeli 2 drone untuk penggunaan racun dan baja untuk diaplikasikan di ladang Farmer Field School di SPU di Bumbung 5. So peserta pun kita ambil yang belia lah, umur di bawah 40 tahun. So kami sangat-sangat looking forward untuk bekerjasama dengan pelapis ataupun golongan belia yang mana berminat dalam sektor pertanian, terutamanya di negeri Pulau Pinang. So nanti saya rasa kita boleh buat perjumpaan, mungkin boleh bincang, mungkin we can get some idea from Penang, PGC dan juga profesor dan ahli panel yang lain. So saya rasa untuk dua soalan tadi itu saya rasa telah menjawab. Yang mana satu, AWD kita belum laksanakan, dan cabaran untuk urban farming di Penang, antara cabaran utama how to sustain. So kesedaran masyarakat tu yang paling penting. So semua pihak perlu bagi kerjasama, semua pihak perlu memainkan peranan masing-masing, sebab untuk sustain dalam program ni itu adalah cabaran. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Muhaimin. Your answers are spot on.
Right.
So now I'm moving quickly to Mr. Kassim. Mr. Kassim, are you there? So I have, I think, 3 short questions, and please answer them in the timely fashion. So one is, how do we ensure environmental sustainability in aquaculture and fishery practice in Malaysia? So what needs to be done? And secondly, instead of increasing production, like you mentioned, through aquaculture and deep sea fishing, whether we should think about reducing our seafood consumption in the long term. And lastly, which are the most pollution prone areas in Penang? How can we benchmark this problem? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So for sustainability of fisheries and aquaculture, I think currently we cannot explore more, develop more coastal fisheries. So what we have to do now is to more on conservation. Okay, we maintain current level of production in coastal fisheries, and to increase further, we push forward all the vessels to the offshore, as well as to Indian Ocean and so on. So we have to explore more in this area and conserve more for our coastal area. For aquaculture, we should focus on increasing the technology, culture technology, seed production technology, so we can come up with the good quality of seed, and we can come up with good what we call aquaculture practice to produce more fish in the future. And then in order to produce more fish, we have also to reduce our pollution and our waste what we call production. So for the second question, do we need to reduce seafood consumption in order to increase the production? Is that correct?
Oh, so the question is whether instead of thinking of increasing production, we should focus on reducing consumption, so we don't have to, you know, to produce more.
So I think we cannot stop people from eating much fish, more fish, and so on. We have to increase production as the population of Malaysia will be increasing in the future. We should increase production, not stop people from taking fish. But in order to increase the production, we have to look into technology. Okay, we have to use efficient technology to produce fish, and in the same time, we have to what we call conserve our environment. Okay. No pollution from aquaculture, as well as no encroachment in the coastal area by the big vessel. And as long as people out there, fishermen, aquaculturists, follow the rules and regulations made by UF, I think our fisheries will be developed sustainably. And for third question is a prone area of we call pollution. We in FRI, we don't study on every area on pollution. We just study on the fish kill area. Okay. So if there is a fish kill event in that area, so we will send our team to investigate, to take sample, water sample, sediment sample, as well as fish sample to analyze what are the causes of the fish kill in that area. So I think for the moment, I think in Penang, almost all the area is still within what we call a level of marine water quality standard, within that level. And then if there is a fish kill event, there's perhaps maybe due to the what we call the pollution from the river runoff. Most of the case we got is something like pollution from the river runoff, whereby what we call there's what we call high nutrient input from the land to the sea, and then it will trigger the algae bloom, and then it will kill the fish. I think that's all. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all the what we call the participants, as well as organizing committee, and also the member of the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kassim. Very quickly, Professor Syed, one question. What do you think the current level of innovation in the agriculture sector in Malaysia is, and what can we do what can be done to allow it to take a big leap forward? Thank you. Professor Syed, are you still there?
Sure. I think it's variable because people are concerned about the return on investment, and if they're going to innovate, they're taking risk. And if they're taking risk and it doesn't succeed, then how are they going to be able to recoup that? So it's very easy or easier to do what we're already familiar with than take the decision to do something differently. So the answer to your question is not technology or even innovation. We have to start from data. And without data, we can't make decisions. Data gives us the baseline. We are involved in a very big project with the European Union called Land Support, with 18 other European partners and us. And they have insisted for the 18 partners to share data, and they come from 13 countries. So unless you share data and you put all of that data into the system, you can't really make decisions because you've got no baseline. So Land Support looks at urban, peri-urban, rural, agro, and says we have to share the data. And once we share the data, we can make decisions about what the best use of that land is. In addition, and it was in answer to the question that Kassim just mentioned, we wouldn't be able to pollute the rivers, or we wouldn't be able to pollute and have runoff to the field next door, because the land support system would actually give you information about your own resources and the implications of damaging the environment or runoff to the next location. And it includes all the European policies. So it isn't just a management tool. It actually says, are you breaking standard operating procedures or laws or directives of the European Union? And at the moment, Land Support has 190,000 locations in which data is now integrated. And that allows us to do all the things we've talked about, technologies, innovation, agro-tech, because we can then start making comparisons between choices. At the moment, we're just trying the best we can in each location, and we're not really using the power of data systems to actually give us the best options for change.
Thank you. That's very logical, the need for data. Lastly, Mr. Izhan, very quickly, I don't know if you'll be able to answer the question on the spot for this. The questions are, for digitizing farming, what's the scale of farming that implementation can have good ROI, so return of investment? So what sort of size, I guess, what sort of scale of the farming that will allow good returns on investment for digitizing the farming process? And what's the minimum investment to start with the smart farming system? As I say, if you don't have the figures on hand, we can come back to the listeners later. Thank you, Mr. Izhan.
Okay.
Mr. Izhan? Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Shin Wei. Saya tak ada data yang tepat, figure yang tepat. Cuma saya boleh bagi nama syarikat, iaitu Pewaris Bumi Hijau. Boleh search dalam Google, dia ada share dia punya projek dalam internet. Tapi sekali lalu saya baca untuk projek e-satellite farm tu, dia dibuat di kawasan lebih kurang 5 ekar dan menampung lebih kurang 18,000 polybag. Untuk keluasan ni diuruskan oleh 9 orang usahawan tani. Jadi setiap orang lebih kurang 2,000 polybag dia monitor. Dan untuk kos, kalau tak salah saya lebih kurang 100,000. Seperti Tuan Pengarah Jabatan Pulau Pinang share tadi, di Pulau Pinang pun ada buat tanaman halia. Jadi mungkin kita boleh melawatlah, lihat sendiri, dan kita boleh tahu lebih lanjut berkenaan kos permulaan, berapa luas yang diperlukan untuk dapat ROI yang baik. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Izhan. Thank you. For your questions that have not been answered, we will be collecting them and we'll be sending to the presenters individually. Hopefully we'll get back to you. But before we go, I'll have an announcement to make. So our next webinar will be on green economy. That will take place on the 30th of July. And we'll be talking various issues in terms of tourism, basic infrastructure, green sustainability in the industry. So stay tuned. And as with this webinar, it will be preceded by another sort of online session organized by PGC, which is